Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Jennifer, and I'm the Growth Marketing Manager here at Rise Vision. I'm going to be moderating today's webinar and just guiding us through. Today, we're here to talk about simplifying school communication and how schools can modernize with Rise Vision and KCAV. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, or you can also use the Q&A feature. So we're going to be doing a quick intro of our panelists. We're going to be talking about the challenges in schools. We're also going to provide an overview of Rise Vision. If you haven't heard of us before, we're so glad that you're here. Blake is going to be doing a live demo showing exactly how schools can simplify communication and use the tools that you already have and the technology that you already have. We're going to get some perspectives from KCAV and Greenbush. Greenbush is a purchasing cooperative in Kansas, but they help other states in the area. So today, the goal of today's session, we want to answer the question, how can we simplify school communication using the technology that schools already have? We want everyone to leave here with one nugget of information that makes a difference in their school and that they can implement right away. Blake, he is our senior account executive with Rise Vision. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion, which explains his eyes today. He is also a yo-yo master.
Does it explain my eyes? Was it a yo-yo incident or was it a jujitsu incident? We don't know.
The mystery. Family man in Kansas runs a great little homestead there, and he is an expert on how Rise Vision helps schools communicate and consolidate their signage and alerts into one easy-to-manage platform. And then we have Bobby. He is the AV sales consultant for KCAV. He is also a percussionist in a band, so a musical man, and has two children, Hayden and Hadley. I love the both H names. His expertise is being a regional technology consultant and helping schools implement technology and solutions like Rise Vision. Let's get into what's actually going on. Challenges facing schools today across the US, across Canada. Schools are facing growing challenges with communication, safety, and technology management. Between aging infrastructure, those IFPs or those panels that you bought 5-10 years ago, disconnected systems, limited budgets, and stretched IT teams, it can feel really impossible to keep everyone in your school connected and informed. This isn't a failure of effort, it's a systems problem in school. So messages are spread across too many tools. Important updates are easy to miss when they're being sent out as an email or a newsletter. Safety communication isn't always consistent, and IT teams are stretched thin. There's just too much going on. So I'm going to turn it over to Bobby and Blake for their perspective. But we also want to hear from you, the people who are here in our audience and who are actually in the schools. So right now, if you could drop in the chat, what is the biggest communication challenge that you're experiencing today? But Blake, we'll start with you. What are the biggest challenges that schools are facing when it comes to keeping students and staff informed that you're seeing?
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer. I talk to dozens of schools a week. And usually it boils down to a lot of disconnected systems that they're using for communication, outdated bell systems, PAs, announcement systems, emails, text messages, even down to printed flyers to communicate your announcements. The disconnect really provides a lot of opportunity for failure points. And those failure points lead to congestion in communication and the correct information not being communicated to the parties that need to hear it, which is generally all staff and students in a K-12 environment. Since there's limited IT staff too, it's really hard to manage the tools that make life easier or are supposed to make life easier if you have multiple endpoints or multiple different types of tools in play. Because with the limited IT staff, you're probably not communicating all of them into the same channel. And when you have multiple channels, the chances of disruption are multiplied by that number of endpoints, whether it's printed flyers or text messages or emails, screens, you name it. So
Yeah.
what schools are really asking me for and what they're looking at Rise Vision as a solution for is to automate the school with kind of one central technology. And Rise Vision as a communications platform does that, and it's going to ensure consistency across your conversation and your communication channels.
So Blake, that's echoing what people are dropping in the chat. Multiple systems, too many systems. Who communicates what and on what platforms? When you have multiple platforms, who's in charge of those platforms and where are they communicating? Charlotte says parents want to know everything all the time. I think that's a separate challenge is this parent communication and wanting to know everything. Diana talks about updating the school messages in a timely manner. We do want to update those messages daily or frequently because if the content stays the same, people are just going to tune it out because nothing is changing. Eric, attention span, not reading emails, becoming numb to communication. That's totally true. Attention span is something, it's a societal issue. I think at this point, the information overload where people are just disconnecting because there's so much information. I think that's completely valid. It's an overload. Tess is talking about technology failures for mass messaging in emergency situations, arriving either too late or not at all. Tess, we're going to be talking about emergency alerts. Zachary saying teachers can silo themselves in their comfort zone of communication and don't understand the value of communication, whether it's content or messaging to parents. Yeah, missed and ignored announcements. Simply not reading. Yeah. People are just ignoring emails. Oh, and Jacob, not being given items to display digitally in a timely manner. Oof. Or given too much to show. Yeah, that can be really hard because the content that you're showing, you can't put everything on a digital sign. You have to think billboard and not brochure. Bobby, let's turn it over to you. KCAV supports schools directly with technology planning and implementation. From a consulting standpoint, where are you seeing schools struggling the most when it comes to communication technology?
A great question and great responses. A lot of what the attendees are saying is right on course with what we're seeing as well. And really 4 things that come to mind. IT departments, which not just limited to them, most departments are overwhelmed by support requests and they struggle with device management and how to get to, like some of those examples, get the content in a timely manner to where it's digestible and all of that. So that's a problem. Second, I see is schools often lack awareness that they can actually integrate these new systems and communication tools into stuff they already have, the hardware that's in place, which in turn saves money and less stuff to manage. Third, I would say is that the need for affordable but scalable tools that don't require a lot of training. This is an extra piece that everybody has to add on to their plate. So it has to be simple, it has to be effective, and it needs to be super timely for those users. I'd say the last one would be dealing with the different departments. Everybody has their own goals and everybody is looking to and has their own initiatives. So how do we get the communications department to talk to the safety, to the curriculum, to the facilities? All of these things are intertwined at a school district and they do have the ability to all talk the same language, but getting all those people on the same page is sometimes a challenge. So those are the big 4 things I'm seeing right now.
From everything that everybody has dropped in the chat and what Blake and Bobby have said, we're hearing that it isn't a failure of the effort. Schools want to communicate. IT teams want to make this work. It's a systems problem. But the good news is schools don't need to start from scratch or invest in really expensive upgrades to fix these issues. Schools have a lot of what they need, and that's what we're going to talk about. So what if schools could use the displays and devices that they already own, centralize communication in one place, reduce IT workload instead of adding to it, improve awareness, safety, and engagement with their staff and students and parents? So that's exactly what we're going to explore is how schools are simplifying communication using what they already have. Blake, I'm going to turn it over to you. Why don't you give an overview of Rise Vision for the people who haven't heard about us?
I can absolutely do that. So we are Rise Vision. We're an all-in-one platform that's going to bring digital signage, screen sharing, and alerts together. And that digital signage can really be anything, any of your data that's hosted on the web and messaging services like Parent Square, for instance, or a Google Workspace. They can all be shown through Rise Vision using our easy integrated technologies. So here you see Parent Square, Canva, Google Workspace, CAT providers like I've seen Raptor mentioned, Crisis Go, Single Wire, any emergency alerts tools that you may have, we're likely going to integrate with them and easily show that communication here on your digital screens, whether it be a dedicated digital signage display in a hallway or an office or a menu board in a nutrition space, or if you have interactive flat panel displays in your classrooms, we can take over those displays regardless of what the teacher and students are doing on those screens at that time. Streamlining your messaging through Rise Vision is going to make it easier on IT teams because you can send those announcements regardless of who the user is, whether it's a superintendent at the district level, an assistant principal at the school level, a secretary, a nurse, or a person on the nutrition team. They can all update from their end of things and have their displays throughout the school automatically updated within Rise Vision with very little input into Rise Vision itself. So schools around Kansas, which is where Bobby and I are at, are using Rise Vision to really modernize communication with very little investment. Here we have Kansas City Public Schools. This is a buddy of mine. He's at the smallest elementary school in Kansas City, Kansas. He has, I think he said, 6 different languages represented at his school. And his goal was very simple. He wants to communicate with parents that he doesn't speak their language. So what does he do? He installs a Rise Vision display in some of the common areas and classrooms of his school. Now, when those parents come in, the messages are scrolling on the screen to give them the latest updates about what's going on at that school in their own language. So he uses Google Translate to create, or not create, but modify the templates that we provide for announcements. He gets the language barrier broken down a little bit so he can communicate with those families in an easy way. Wichita Public Schools, they're sending messages throughout the district from the district level. So if the district level has something important to announce to all schools, they can send a message with the click of a button and interrupt the signage at any of those schools that they pick with the superintendent's messaging. And then Monticello Trails Middle School here in Shawnee, Kansas, they were just looking for a simple solution to make it really easy to broadcast announcements, whether it be from presentations that they've created in Canva, a Google Calendar of upcoming events. All of those are integrated into their digital signage to make it really easy to manage what's up on those screens and keep both staff, students, and also the parents that visit in the know as to what's going on today at the school.
Awesome. All right, Blake, I'm going to turn it over to you to give us a demo of Rise Vision.
Great. Thanks, Jennifer, and everyone that's still with us here. Real quickly, I wanted to show you how simple it is for Rise Vision to be used alongside existing bell systems and alarm systems for synchronized communication. And it's very simple. So we know bell systems are easily antiquated. They're expensive to replace. They're expensive to update. So you can complement those existing bell systems and alarm systems with technology that Rise Vision already has built into it, and using hardware that you already have in your classrooms and in your hallways, which are screens. To demonstrate this, I've set up a schedule. First, I've set up some presentations. It's in this class periods folder. So I've just set up a basic class period presentation for all 7 periods, 8 periods, counting lunch at my pretend school. Each one of these is a countdown. 5th period, arrive to your classroom in 48 minutes. When this 5th period starts, we'll show a 5th period is in session message, but I can demo that here by showing you period 2. 2nd period is in session. So every day, these will refresh and begin showing 10 minutes before the period starts and show 10 minutes after the period ends on all digital signage and screens if we want to show this on our classroom IFPs as well. And it's really simple to do. So I've built my presentations with the countdowns, then I need to build a schedule. I've built this class period schedule here. And as you can see, I've added each block or each period to my schedule. So for instance, period 1, it shows from 8 a.m. to 8:20 a.m. because it starts at 8:10 a.m. And it shows Monday through Friday. Now, if this was a block schedule or a schedule that changed by day, I could easily say this only should appear on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or only on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. But for this example, this is how I'm going to use this. So my countdown starts at 8 a.m. At 8:10 a.m., my presentation shows that class is in session. And then at 8:20 a.m., it's going to go back to my normal digital signage that I run at any given time. At 8:50 a.m., it's then going to transition into the period 2. So at 8:50, the period 2 announcement will start counting down. So you get the picture. I have scheduled this each day to show up 10 minutes before and 10 minutes after. So this is going to interrupt existing digital signage that I have. In fact, you can't really see it behind me because it's washed out. But right now I'm showing the lunches in session presentation that I've created. Then at noon my time, it will turn off and move on to the next one. But this is going to alternate with the existing digital signage that we have, which could be a lot of different messaging integrations that we provide. So I'm just going to go here to playlist and show you what we could set up here in Rise Vision. So first off, a playlist template is going to allow us to grab from multiple different data sources. Like I said, if your data is housed somewhere on the internet, you're probably going to be able to bring it into Rise Vision, whether that's a parent square, web page, a menu board from a nutrition company, a YouTube video, a Canva presentation, even things like Power BI and Domo. If you want to show attendance metrics within Rise Vision, you can do that. Or we can pull up our school's meta feeds. Maybe it's Facebook or Instagram. All of these can be pulled into Rise Vision with just a few simple clicks. Let's grab a presentation that I've created to, so that's a good one. NCAA tournament, that's the biggest template that's ever been created by Rise Vision. It's used like 90% of displays when March comes around. So we're building our playlist. We're building our playlist of content from various sources around the internet, whether it's Parent Square, Google Workspace, Canva. We just drop all of this content into Rise Vision. So let me select something from Canva. It's a good one that my daughter created of her mermaid bedroom. We're just going to scroll through these different announcements that come from different sources, whether it's Rise Vision built or Canva built, whether it's a post on Meta, whether it's a post on Parent Square. We'll scroll through as normal. And then as the class periods begin their countdown, the class periods will replace what's showing on the screen and then go back to our default timeline as scheduled. As I mentioned, we have a few different ways to interrupt signage with important announcements. Maybe bus dismissals are big for you. If you have some bus dismissal announcements to make, you can easily pull up our bus dismissal, edit it as needed, and then select it to show on all displays and replace what's currently there. If I click save on this, it's going to replace all of the digital signs in my network with the bus dismissal schedule. So really just 2 clicks to get a simple, easy bus schedule up on your screens in no time. As you can see, it's changing behind me already. Just going to save this. Now, really important are emergency alerts. And as I mentioned, we do integrate with Crisis Go, Raptor, Single Wire, audio enhancement, dozens of emergency management systems that provide Common Alerting Protocol 1.2. With that feature, you can integrate into Rise Vision really simply. You just provide your web service URL from Rise Vision, and they provide you an authentication name and authentication password. You tell us which template you want to interrupt the screens, and then you say, do you want an alert klaxon or not? Yes, maybe, no, it's up to you. All this usually is left to default. Once you click save, you finish the setup in your emergency management system. And then if there's an emergency triggered at that school, let's say a fire drill, we're going to interrupt all signage, including classroom IFPs if we're installed on those, to show the fire drill instructions. It's very simple. It's a time-saving measure, and it's very reliable. You can do this without an emergency management system as well. It's not advised to be used for extreme emergency situations. But if you just had a weather situation come up, what I like to do is create a weather alert template that just describes what's going on with the weather. when our warning is going on to, and if there are any special instructions. When I'm ready to send this, I click on Show on All Displays and click Save. And then this is going to update on all of my screens, again, with the severe weather notification that I've set up. That's a brief description of how overrides work, how integrations work with Rise Vision. Now, again, pulling integrations from the web couldn't be simpler. You can use our playlist full screen template to do. You can add websites, HTML embeds. I was testing a few countdown timers with HTML embeds this morning. Lots of resources online, like Healthy Pro for menu boards, will provide a publicly accessible web page that you can plug into Rise Vision and show your menu for the day, along with nutrition facts. PowerPoint is very popular, as well as, of course, Google Slides. Wherever you currently manage your announcements and data, you can plug them into Rise Vision and not have to worry about using another tool. Since we integrate, when a Google slide is updated, your Rise Vision digital signage is updated. When a web page is updated, your Rise Vision digital signage is updated. When a Canva presentation is added, you can add that really simply to Rise Vision. So you're not reinventing the wheel every time you need to make an announcement. And when you need to trigger announcements at a moment's notice, you can do that on your digital signage as well and get ahead of the curve with those updates to your bell system.
We have a question about emergency alerts if you wanted to just go over that really quick.
Sure.
Okay,
no
so
problem.
Jacob is asking, can you have different emergency alerts for different things like fire drill versus a real fire or a lockdown? Can you just kind of elaborate on that?
Yes, you can. Absolutely. In the two emergency management systems that I've tested, when you send an alert out, it's going to ask the category of the alert and the type of alert. And this can be done from a panic button or a system that's in the room or on a badge. So let's say 7 clicks of a badge means a medical emergency in your classroom. You would set up then in Crisis Go that trigger that says this means medical emergency. And then if they receive a medical emergency, they're going to send the medical emergency notification to Rise Vision. Whereas if you log into Crisis Go and you send a fire drill, it's going to appear as a fire drill on Rise Vision rather than a fire emergency. If you sent fire emergency, it would appear differently. So that's all controlled by your CAP provider, and they have the categories and the states for all of that.
Yeah. And then I think if you weren't using a CAP provider, what you demonstrated, Blake, with the weather alert, if you had a fire drill and didn't have a CAP provider and you didn't want to use that, you could just create your own presentation for the fire drill and push it to all of your displays that way as well.
Absolutely. So this is what I'm demonstrating here. You just change the wording to fire drill, and then you can push this out with an override, which again is going to interrupt all of your signage that's set up, but also whatever your teacher or students are doing on their IFPs. If Rise Vision is installed, we're going to interrupt that as well.
Awesome. All right. What we just saw from Blake, it isn't a theoretical solution. Rise Vision is directly addressing the challenges that we talked about earlier and that people shared their communication challenges. The templates makes it really easy to use and creates really consistent branding and communication. Scheduling, you save time for IT and your administrators because that can all be done in advance. Overrides really improve safety and reliability, and your classroom IFPs, you're expanding the reach of your messaging, not just for teaching. For those disconnected tools, we have one centralized platform, manual updates. Oh, scratch that. Let's do automated scheduling, missed announcements. It's instant delivery to every screen, and emergency confusion, clear, consistent alerts across your buildings make the expectations for emergencies very clear. So let's talk about how this works in real schools without having to replace what they already have. And so this is where Greenbush and KCAV come in with their ultimate goal of helping schools implement solutions like this in a way that fits their environment and budget, because it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. We have Russ from Greenbush today. Russ, why don't you provide a little bit of an overview on how Greenbush makes it easier for schools to purchase technology?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jennifer, for the introduction. My name is Russ Wilcox. I'm the procurement systems coordinator over here at Greenbush. And today I'm also joined with the rest of our team, Becky Herlocker and Morgan Harris. So Greenbush Procurement is also a part of the Southeast Kansas Education Service Center, which basically we help make cost-effective technology purchases easier for Kansas schools. And then also many neighboring states, as Jennifer alluded to earlier. So Greenbush, or our procurement department, is actually streamlined and compliant, which means that our cooperative contracts are basically completely solicited. We do all the work ahead of time. What does that do for schools? It increases the amount of time that they can get their stuff done. In other words, they can go from need to order quickly without starting a bid from scratch. We do all of our bids for those particular partnerships, such as with KCAV. And because we've done all the due diligence in that regard, that allows schools to order directly off of those contracts rather than having to go through the whole bid process themselves. It's a better use of their budget. In other words, our pre-bid pricing and contract terms, those kind of help stretch those dollars and then help you plan with a little bit of confidence. And then lastly, just our partnerships, just wanted to touch on the awarded vendors. So we'll go out for a bid on, say, many things in addition to some of the stuff that we're doing here and talking about here today. And so we'll go through and we've done the due diligence, as I mentioned. So they're evaluated through a formal process. We do the whole bid process. And then that really makes the purchasing that much more reliable and consistent. So what's the bottom line? The bottom line is basically that Greenbush cooperative contracts can help Kansas schools adopt technology efficiently, responsibly, and cost effectively. That basically sums up exactly what Greenbush does. And again, we're just proud to be on here today, helping represent KCAV as well as RISE.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Russ. So I dropped in the chat just asking, is your school already using a purchasing cooperative, or what's your kind of process? Jacob says with Rise Vision, we go directly through Rise Vision. Lisa says we do the same. You can go direct through Rise, but we do have these purchasing cooperatives who, like Russ said, there's more than just digital signage. It can be really for anything that your school needs and has already done the due diligence for that. All right. Next, we're going to turn it over to Bobby and talk about KCAV and what they do for schools.
Yeah, really, we're a consultative shop here. We've been in business for over 70 years. Super proud of that because we are in technology and as it's always evolving. And I myself entering my 18th year with KCAV. Super proud, lifelong learner and worker there. We specialize in delivering AV systems that enhance student engagement and support modern learning. So we're really like a plan. We like results, not just to sell you technology, but actually implement something you guys are going to use. We have multiple locations throughout the Midwest, so we really know our region well, and we have people very close to help. We're a full integrator of AV, anything from a football field audio system all the way to a conference room in your school district. Our connection with Rise, man, I have been a believer in Rise Vision since I've learned about them, and really just as you saw today, allows for such efficiency in communication. And with the world today, I think communication is very important for the school or entity to own. And that's why I really like this. Greenbush, we've been partners for years with them, and they have been great to work with because the schools can focus on what the solution is versus having to go through a whole process. And then in the end, that process possibly getting a partner that doesn't really align with what the solution and work that was done by the school. With these three, our goal is to help you actually focus on how to improve communication, and that goes across every department.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Bobby. 18 years is a long time to be at the same role. It's great. I just dropped in the chat if anybody can beat that and has been at their company or their job for more than 18 years. All right. So now we're at the part where we want to answer questions. What questions do you have? Drop them in the chat right now and we will get them answered. First questions. Blake, this question is for you from Ryan. Ryan is asking, can you push notifications to student or staff laptops?
Yes, depending on the operating system that is running on those laptops. For more information on that, contact sales@risevision.com. We do have that implemented on several OSs, but it's really going to depend on what you use. So we'll be able to answer that as specifically as possible.
Okay. Blake, another question for you about live streaming. Can you live stream a Google meeting?
A Google Meet, I believe so, but there's some technicality involved. I think the Google Meet has to be streamed to YouTube Live in order to do that. That would be something our support team could give you more information on. I don't know of anyone doing live streams through Google Meet normally through Rise Vision right now, but I bet it's possible.
Okay. Blake, this one you're going to need to share your screen for. So this is from Andrea, and she is asking to take advantage of the meta feed. So sharing a Facebook feed, does a school have to create a Facebook page, or can an individual staff member create a Facebook for that school? So can you just show like the back end of connecting a meta feed?
Yep.
Yeah.
I do not have a Meta account, but I can show you how it works. So you would have to have a Facebook or Instagram account for the school. It has to be a Facebook page or a Facebook profile or an Instagram. Now, if the staff member had an Instagram that they were just using for the school, they could link their Instagram account here. Same with Facebook profile. Recommended though, you have a school page that is used for this implementation.
Good question. Is there a chance you will be adding an audio component that would allow us to add voiceover to slides or background music?
Oh, very popular question.
Yeah, our CEO loves this question. It's possible now. It's just not how you think you would do it. What you would do is you create all of your slides in your presentation here. And then in components, you would add video. Now, this video would likely just be an audio track, right? But once you have that, let me just select something from our stock video library, show you how this works. See if this will take a minute on my slow computer. You'll add a video and as a component, and then that component you can actually hide in the background. So it would automatically play the audio from that video over the top of whatever is normally playing in your playlist, and it would accomplish exactly what you're asking for.
All right. So Beth, there is a workaround for getting audio into or voiceover or background music into your slides. Daniel has a question about screen settings. So Daniel says, how can the screen settings be secured from the web portal so students can't change the channel or input?
Great question. I've got a really good answer, Jen. Got a really good answer. Can I go, or are you going to say something else?
Go, you go.
So this is why it's important to work with someone like Bobby. This is going to be very dependent on the type of screen that you buy and who you purchase it from. Most consumer televisions are not going to allow you to lock inputs. However, most prosumer or professional level displays will allow you to do that. A guy like Bobby is going to be able to recommend the right screen solution for the project that you want, and the lockdown is going to happen on that screen itself, not necessarily on the Rise Vision media player end of things.
All those displays are not treated the same, so there does need to be thought behind that if that is a requirement.
Yeah, for sure. Blake, this might be one that you want to demo again. So Jacob is asking, is there a way with the Rise Vision player to control when a display turns on and off? I know the Avacor displays have that feature, but what about other types of displays and screens?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is my schedule for my office display here, and it is set up to run from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. At 8 a.m., it turns on automatically, and at 5 p.m., it turns off automatically. Now, I do have an Avacor K-Series behind me, so that is a built-in feature of this. You can use other types of screens along with the Rise Vision media player and several other media players that support HDMI CEC or RS-232. So this is covered in our display control article here. It tells you which versions of Rise Player will work with display control Windows, Ubuntu Linux, Raspbian for Raspberry Pi, BrightSign, and of course our media player. The device itself will need either an RS-232 port, or if you have a system on a chip smart display with HDMI CEC, you can use that as well.
All right. Thanks so much, Blake. This is a good question for Bobby and Blake. This is a question from Lisa a little bit earlier. So it sounds like they have Chromecast attached to their panels and their displays, but they're having some issues with their panels just not functioning great. How often does a media player like a Chromecast need to be replaced or updated?
So a Chromecast would be a consumer device. So its lifespan is going to be significantly less than a commercial device like the Rise Vision media player that we sell, or like the commercial displays that Bobby sells there at KCAV. A Chromecast in particular, who knows what the lifespan is on that? Depends on whatever Google decides lifespan is. With our media player, you can subscribe to it on a 3 or a 5-year plan, or you can buy it outright. If you subscribe to it on a 3 or 5-year plan, that media player is never going to be out of date, because we're going to handle all the updates for it, and we're going to send you a new one when the old one is deprecated. The benefit of going with a hardware as a service plan from Rise Vision or your media player. Also, you can take our media players and you can attach them to any TV with an HDMI in. So instead of a large, expensive project in the middle of a school year, when you have a real need for a new media player or a new screen, you can just plug ours in and make use of it until you have that IFP refresh project come due.
Yeah, I would add that the players are purpose-built. They're meant to execute the functions of that software where, a Chromecast, nothing wrong with it, but like you alluded, it is a consumer product. So it's not built just for this. It's built for a bunch of things. So you want to get the most out of all those features, you would need a piece of hardware that, is purpose-built for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Lisa, the Chromecasts, you can use them for a little while. We do have some ways to get more life out of your IFP or the panels that are in your classroom. We do want to be talking about reusing the technology that you already have. Blake, do you want to talk briefly about the solution for if a school has an aging IFP panel that's just not quite doing it for them? What are some ways that they can get more life out of that using Rise Vision?
Yeah, so an aging IFP panel usually comes down to one thing, and it's that system on a chip, either no longer being supported by the manufacturer, needing some sort of hardware update, or replacing the entire panel. And that's not feasible for all schools all the time. So with our solution at Rise Vision, since we're not just digital signage, we're emergency alerts, we're screen sharing as well. The solution could be as simple as buying a Rise Vision media player or Rise Vision compatible media player and plugging it into that TV and using that as your input source. Using Rise Vision as the classroom operating system, if you will. So the teacher doesn't necessarily have to do digital signage. They don't have to add digital signage to their daily routine. Most teachers probably don't want to do that. Some do. Some want to recognize their students and assign classwork through digital signage, and that's great. But if they don't want to, the school or the district can control the signage in that room. And then when the teacher's ready to share to that screen, they just open a browser and share with a couple of keystrokes from their laptop, from their tablet, even their smartphone they can share from. It's secure, it's quick, and it's really easy. If you have a visiting speaker, they can come in. They don't even have to connect to your Wi-Fi network in order to share to that screen. They just have to have authorization from the teacher or a PIN number to do it. So we're looking at really reusing what you already have with minimal hardware investment. And that's very possible through Rise Vision. Not only do you get that classroom OS feel with the screen sharing and the digital signage, but you get the benefit of those overrides for announcements, morning announcements, classroom schedules, bell schedules, bus schedules, and of course, emergency alerts.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Blake. All right, we just have a couple of minutes left, and so I do want to wrap this up and get everybody on their way. So getting started is super simple. You can get started with Greenbush using pre-approved cooperative contract, skips that lengthy procurement process and just makes it so much faster to get the technology and the products that you really need. Partnering with resellers like KCAV. So Their expertise is assessing your spaces in your existing technology and finding a solution that works for what you have and what your ultimate goal is. Because again, it's not a one size fits all. You need a tailored solution for your school, for your district. And they also handle the deployment, training, and ongoing support, which is awesome. And then activating Rise Vision, centralize and automated communication. We want to take away the manual input required and automate as much as we can. You have the ability to use your existing hardware, your existing displays and devices, and you can start small and scale. So we're going to meet you where you're at. Maybe you don't need to do a full deployment. Maybe you just want to start with a couple of displays like this Blake mentioned in Kansas City, just a couple of displays to improve communication and then scale out from that point. So look, getting started, super simple. We're here for you. And lastly, if you're ready to take the next step, you can get a personalized demo of Rise Vision with Blake or one of our other AEs. We also have a free trial so you can explore the platform hands-on. So that is it for us. Does anybody have any other questions? We have a couple of minutes. So if anybody wants to ask a question, now is the time to do it. Blake, question from Zachary here. For closed caption video, is there any particular benefit from using the SRT file upload over just burning the closed caption into the videos?
I think it's just easier for most people to just upload the SRT file. At Rise Vision, we pride ourselves on being easy for anyone to use. So I would not know how to burn a closed caption into a video. I might be able to figure it out with the help of ChatGPT, but I wouldn't know how to upload an SRT file. I think it's probably up to you and your technological expertise on how you do it.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't need to go the most complicated way. Sometimes simple is better.
I know Zach, he likes to flex his IT muscles.
All right. Thank you all so much for coming. Thanks, Russ from Greenbush, for being here. Bobby, thanks so much for being here and being a panelist and talking about KCAV. Blake, always great to have you. Thanks so much for being our Rise Vision expert and sharing and giving those demos for everybody. If you have any support questions, support@risevision.com, and they can get you all sorted out with whatever you're looking for. We're here for you the entire time. We want everybody to be successful.